ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च। श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं च। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्। Okay, continuing the 10th chapter. Acronym is C. S stands for source of everything. Then E stands for essence of Bhagavad Gita. And the last E stands for everywhere. We probably will finish S and we will finish E today. We began with S last week, source of everything. The first thing Krishna mentioned is that he is the source of uh, all the sages and all the demigods, and even they don't understand him. And we had little discussion on that topic with the example of how through Brahma Vimohan Leela, how Brahma was bewildered and could not understand the position of Krishna. But later on, he surrendered to Krishna and he glorified Krishna with beautiful prayers. They are called Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna, where he described Param Ishwar is Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha. His form is not material, his form is Sachitananda, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. Sachitananda Vigraha. Anadir Adir Govinda. Uh, he does not have a beginning. He is the original, Adi. Anadir Adir Govinda. Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. Okay. And we covered this verse also, where Krishna says, he who knows me as the unborn, beginningless, as the Supreme Lord, he becomes free from all sins. So anybody who can just accept that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and he is unborn and beginningless, they become free from all sins. So very easy to become free from sins, just accepting Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, we begin from here. Someone, oh, we read this also actually. Yes, now I remember. Um, um, very one among millions. Prabhupada says those who are trying to become Krishna conscious, those who are trying to elevate themselves to the platform of spiritual realization, they are superior to millions and millions of ordinary men. Because most of the people are running towards fulfilling material desires. Very few people can actually have a developed intelligence. It requires developed intelligence, that they become eager in self-realization. That they, there are Bhagavatam describes. There are crows and there are swans. So crows, they assemble near garbage, and if there's garbage, all the crows will come and they will stay there. But swans are found in um, scenic beauty, cleanliness, pure water, um, um, in a very clean place. Swans are found. So material people who are trying to fulfill material desires, they are compared to crows, and people who relish in spiritual subject matters, and their happiness is internal happiness, the divine pleasure, spiritual pleasure. They are like swans. Swan in in Sanskrit is called Hamsa. Hamsa. So one name by which pure devotees are called are Paramahamsa. Many sannyasis have this name Paramahamsa. Like when we glorify Srila Prabhupada, we say Paramhamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotras, that his divine grace, Abhay Chanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So these are all adjectives to Prabhupada, that he is a Paramhamsa. So Hamsa, another quality of Hamsa is swan. If you give swan milk mixed with water, so when swan drinks the milk, from her nose, water will come out. So if you mix some water in the milk, the swan will drink just the milk and take the water out. So swan can separate milk from water. Otherwise, it is not possible. So likewise, the devotees of the Lord, they are like swans. In a way, they may be living in material world. They may be um, um, dealing dealing with material things. They are not touched by it. Those who are pure devotees. Arjuna was fighting, he was killing, engaging in ghastly warfare, but he was not touched by any sins because he was always Krishna conscious, and he was not doing it whimsically. He was not doing it for kingdom, but his sole purpose was because Krishna wants me to do it. He was in a way doing it for the pleasure of Krishna, so he was not touched. Krishna gives that example of a lotus who grows in the water but is untouched by water. Likewise, devotees of the Lord, although living in material existence, they are untouched by material consciousness. So, such people who enjoy spiritual pleasure, they are like swans, and people who are after enjoying the pleasure of ego, pleasure of lust, pleasure of pride, pleasure of envy, they take pleasure in cheating others. They are like crows. They take pleasure in garbage. But unfortunately, most of the people are interested in acting out of lust, envy, pride, and ego. So they're like crows. So Srila Prabhupada, I mean Krishna says there, Prabhupada describes Manusyanam Sahasresu. Um, all the people are interested only in lower forms of pleasure which are available for cats and dogs also. There is no difference. Cats and dogs also enjoy sex life. Humans also enjoy. Cats and dogs also enjoy all this eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Humans also enjoy the same thing. Most of the people are on that platform. One among millions are actually millions of ordinary men. They who they become interested in spiritual realization. So that was very nice. Okay. So now Krishna describes how the qualities also comes from me. So he describes the great sages and the demigods come from me, although they don't know. There are many sages. They are doing tapasya. They don't know Krishna, and there is no there is no wonder in that because even the demigods cannot understand Krishna. Uh, Shrimad Bhagavatam describes Muyati at Suraya. Suraya means great sages and demigods, highly realized souls. Even they become covered by moha. Muyati at Suraya. But those who read scriptures carefully, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, they can come to this knowledge and understanding. Okay, so can we have a volunteer who can read these?
Okay, Prabhu. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the sense, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone. Bhagavad Gita 10.4.
Hmm. Thank you, Amol Prabhu. So here Krishna is telling even the qualities comes from me. Not only the sages and demigods, even the qualities come from me. Little more description. Intelligence is the discrimination power of what is right, what is not right. Should I do this? This is detrimental to my Krishna consciousness. That is intelligence. Um, there is material intelligence and there is spiritual intelligence. Material intelligence is used to fulfill material desires, like how do I rob a bank? How do I get this kind of sense gratification? What do I do? So intelligence can be used there also, but that is material intelligence. Spiritual intelligence is that helps us to advance in our Krishna consciousness. Spiritual intelligence is inspired by the Lord in our heart, Paramatma. He helps us. This is not good for your advancement. This is good for your advancement. Um, for example, we use our intelligence to let's discuss Bhagavad Gita. Let's use our intelligence to discuss Bhagavad Gita. This is spiritual intelligence. So discrimination power to analyze things, what to do, what not to do. Then knowledge. There is lot of different kinds of knowledge, but the real knowledge is one who can distinguish between spirit and matter. What is spirit and what is matter? That is knowledge. Then freedom from doubt and delusion. And Prabhupada says one who is not hesitant to accept the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita become free from doubt and delusion. But one who does not read Bhagavad Gita, he will always be doubtful. What is true? Who am I? Who is God? What is devotional service? Why to perform devotional service? Is this the right thing to do? He will have so many doubts and delusions. So one who is not hesitant to accept Bhagavad Gita, he will become free from doubt and delusion. Forgiveness, Prabhupada says one should be tolerant and excuse minor offenses of others. Forgiveness is also tolerance. Um, if somebody says something which we don't like, then yesterday we were discussing with a group of people that anybody can perform sacrifice, austerity, charity, um, and these things. Anybody can perform. Anyone can read Bhagavad Gita, anyone can chant the holy names, anyone can give charity, and anyone can perform austerities. Um, um, but forgiveness, um, patience, freedom from greed, um, tolerance, these are found only in great souls. So, forgiveness is a very high state of consciousness where when somebody does wrong to us, the mind still is the mind is not disturbed by that, and the mind still wants their welfare. Usually what happens when somebody says something, the false ego acts and the intelligence becomes servant to false ego, and the false ego and the intelligence tells us that person is wrong, he did the wrong thing, he must have never done this. Why? What does he think of himself? That person will have his own reasons, and all these arguments goes into the picture. So Prabhupada says forgiveness is to be tolerant and exclude another's minor offenses. Truthfulness, Prabhupada says, present the fact as they are. That is truthful. Be straightforward. Uh, it may not be necessarily palatable, uh, but you still say it because it will benefit others. Then control of the senses. We understand. Don't engage senses in ways that are detrimental to your Krishna consciousness. Control of the mind. Prabhupada says, restrain the mind from unnecessary thoughts. The mind will, if you have free time is not a opulence, it's a curse. When we are free, the mind will go towards self gratification. So control of the mind is restrain the mind from unnecessary thoughts. And then Prabhupada says people use their mind to think a lot about misuse of mind power, how to make more wealth, um, better position, or get some sort of sense gratification. Then happiness is that which is favorable to Krishna consciousness. Krishna describes happiness in mode of goodness. It may be poison in the beginning, but it is nectar in the end. So even if like Krishna consciousness, some people like to do it, some people doesn't like to do it. But if you do anything which is favorable for your Krishna consciousness, that's true happiness. Then distress purposes, which is unfavorable for spiritual cultivation. That is a cause of distress. It other sense gratification may give temporary happiness, but eventually only distress will come. Krishna consciousness may give distress, may, uh, but eventually only happiness will come. Then birth and death, Prabhupada says, as long as we have material body, we have to go through birth and death. Fear, fear arises from attachment to temporary things. Um, when we are attached to body, there is fear of death. When we are attached to home, there is fear of losing it. That's why there are home insurance, car insurance, life insurance, because there is a fear of losing, and because there is attachment to material things that give rise to fear. Fearlessness, Prabhupada says a pure devotee is fearless because he knows at the end of his life he is going back home, back to God. So it doesn't matter what goes on, he tolerates. His goal is clear. Non-violence, uh, Prabhupada says, should not put others into misery. That is non-violence. We are non-violent people. So um, we don't cause violence on others. We don't kill animals, um, and um, um, we don't cause violence on other human beings also. Um, that is a quality of a Vaishnava, non-violence. Prabhupada says not giving knowledge is also violence. So um, if if you tell somebody that you are a spirit soul part and parcel of Krishna and somehow help him to connect to Krishna, then that is you are making him peaceful. Naturally, Bhagavad Gita makes us peaceful and spiritual practice makes us peaceful. But if somebody is doing something wrong and you don't tell him that there is something wrong that you are doing, then we are committing violence also, because we are letting that person continue cycle of birth and death, and for his sinful activities we are letting him suffer in hellish planets also. So um, um, parents, they supposedly are very caring to their children, but when they allow the children to, like, I know some of the parents, they tell their children, you can eat non-veg, that's okay, you can eat the flesh, you can kill the animals, you can take intoxications, um, you can have illicit relationship, that's all right. So parents, their love is cruelty, because they are telling their children indirectly, well, go and suffer in the hellish planets in the next birth. So that is actually violence. So non-violence means you give education. First, you realize Bhagavad Gita, you gain knowledge, and then you share with others. That is non-violence. Then equanimity. Equanimity comes from freedom from attachment and aversions. When we are attached, we cannot be equanimous, because when we have material desires, if they are not fulfilled, we will be distressed. If they are fulfilled, we will be overjoyed. So equanimity is possible when we become free from material desires. Um, um, then satisfaction. One should be satisfied with whatever one has obtained by the grace of the Lord. That is satisfaction. Lack of satisfaction is actually called lobha. When the mind becomes greed, when the mind becomes restless, then greed comes. For example, greed can be for wealth, for any material desire, for the demand of the tongue, for the demand of any of the senses. The feeling of dissatisfaction even after achieving something. Um, uh, that is greed. So satisfaction means be satisfied with what we have. Lack of satisfaction comes because of lack of gratitude. When we are grateful for what we have received, then we'll be satisfied with that situation. And um, um, real satisfaction comes by Krishna consciousness. If you advance spiritually, when you are satisfied within, then even though material world may have unfulfilled desires or things don't go your way, because you're actually satisfied within, you don't care about it much. Don't care about it much. Just like if you have a higher pleasure, you don't care much about lower pleasure. For example, um, you may you may get um, a very good job, and then on that day you don't get very nice food, but you are very happy because you got a very good job. So you don't really care about what food I'm eating that day. You are too much in happiness. I mean, if you are looking for a job, especially college students, if they get a new job, they are on cloud nine on that day. So when you have Krishna conscious satisfaction, your greed will go away. But unless we become satisfied in our spiritual life, um, certainly we will keep desiring many material things because the soul is seeking for happiness. Um, um, Somehow we have to train ourselves to get a higher happiness, which comes through practicing, not just reading, but practicing Gita in our life. Then austerity. Austerity is work done for the pleasure of the Lord. That is austerity. Austerity is something that pleases Krishna. Like we may like to hear Bhagavad Gita, we may not, but we gather together and we are discussing Bhagavad Gita. That's an austerity. If you like it, still it's an austerity. Austerity means something that pleases the Lord. Um, Tapo Devyam Putraka Eva Sattva. Rishabh Dev says in Srimad Bhagavatam, human life is meant for tapasya. What is a tapasya? Well, Krishna consciousness, whether we like or we don't like, because the mind is uncontrolled. Um, we want to, um, we don't want to act in a way the mind tells us. So we do it anyhow because it's the right thing to do. Just for example, um, um, killing animals, it's a wrong thing to do. But mind will say, that's okay, that's all right, I want it. So you can kill. So then the mind needs to be controlled. And when you chant the holy name, the mind say, I don't want it. Then again, you need to control the mind. So what mind likes, it doesn't really matter. Mind is usually attached to sinful activities, illicit sex, and intoxication. Those who have this habit, because the mind is trained in a certain way, mind just wants to enjoy. And how does mind want to enjoy? Where it has received enjoyment from the past. So mind is kind of trained in a negative way because of constant interaction with this material world. Just like mm, I don't know if you, so we do kirtans. Kirtan is we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra accompanied by musical instruments. So we play drums in the kirtan. That drum is called mridanga. Mridanga is like a drum. Maybe whenever we meet in person, we do some kirtan. Those who have seen, you know. Those who have not seen, you will see it in future. So if somebody wants to learn mridanga, then they go to a teacher. Like if you go to a teacher in Vrindavan and you say, can you teach me Mridanga? Yes, we will teach you. How much will you charge? Do you know Mridanga? Yes, I know Mridanga. All right, it is 2000 rupees only, and we will teach you Mridanga. Another person come. I want to learn Mridanga. Can you teach? I will teach you. Do you know Mridanga? I don't know Mridanga. Okay, for you it is 500 rupees only. So for the person who knows Mridanga, uh, to for him to learn, it's 2000 rupees. For a person who doesn't know, for him to learn, it's only 500 rupees. Why? because the teacher says, first, whatever you have learned, I have to undo it. That's why it's more difficult. I have to undo it, and then I have to give you the right way of learning. Likewise, we have learned living life in a certain way. So that's why it's much easier if you give children right from the beginning a perfect lifestyle. Of course, that's their own good karma that they come in touch with such souls who knows the perfect lifestyle right from the beginning. That's their own good karma. So if we the thing is we have trained life in a certain way, and we have developed so many attachments, and we may not have developed much attachments towards spiritual life. So now we have to undo, because we hear so many things from so many people and we have so many conceptions. So for those who are very um, who have lot insight, for them to understand Bhagavad Gita becomes very difficult. Why? Because it takes more effort. It takes more effort. um, I don't know why I said that. But yeah, I think austerity. Austerity is do what is pleasing to the Lord. Whatever Krishna says, whatever Bhagavatam says, try to do that. See what happens. There is a saying: the taste of eating lies in the taste of pudding lies in eating. Somebody says gulab jamun is very nice and rasgulla is very nice, and then you ask them, gulab jamun is nice. What does it taste like? It tastes sweet. Hmm. And what does rasgulla taste like? It tastes sweet also. What is the difference between the taste? One is white color, one is black color. Okay, what other is the difference? One is thick syrup, one is thin syrup. But what is the difference in taste? Um, they are made of different ingredients. One is made of paneer and one is made of maida and other things. But what is the difference in the taste? Well, the texture is different. But what is that feeling of the different taste? I don't know. Just eat it and try it out, man. I cannot explain it. So that's exactly Krishna consciousness is. It's easy. I mean, anybody can speak, but nobody can actually explain Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is something that has to be tasted by oneself. And if you taste it, then your faith will grow, your understanding will grow. So that's austerity. Austerity means accept it, try it, taste it. Um, if it works for you, then you share with your parents, share with your brothers, with your sisters, with your spouse, with your children, share with the whole world. But first you taste it. Mahaprabhu said, Janma sartha kari karo paropakar. You make your life perfect and then you help others. But you cannot help others till you taste it. So first you taste it. That is tapasya, austerity. That must be done. Then there is charity. Um, if we don't give charity, we'll become attached. So charity brings renunciation. Charity is something that we don't want to do because of attachment. But when if we do anyhow, um, then it will bring renunciation, which is and renunciation brings happiness. Attachments brings misery. All our misery arise from the same places where we have attachments. So attachment leads to misery. Renunciation brings happiness. People who are relatively renounced, relatively, renunciation does not mean you have to leave family. Renunciation is a state of consciousness. Krishna says that in Karma Yoga, you do things, but you do it without attachment to the results. That is renunciation. But if because attachment is there, charity helps to forcefully bring that renunciation, and slowly, slowly, that will bring you happiness. Someone told me that America they did a survey, and they um, um, top 10 reasons for happiness, something like that. I mean, I don't promote it. I promote only Bhagavad Gita, but since there is a matching, I'm sharing. So they said top 10 reasons to become happy, and the first was charity. People who give charity in their life, they are happy. It is seen. So that was a survey, but we know from Bhagavad Gita it's basic for us. Then fame and infamy. A real fame is if you become a great devotee of the Lord. That is real fame. Everyone is looking for fame. Become a great devotee of the Lord and see. People want to acquire fame by having more people working under them as a manager, by opening a company and coming to Fortune 500, by um, um, whatever, by being the best software developer in your company, so everybody admire you. So everyone is looking for fame in this world. Everyone is doing practically most of the thing they are doing is to impress others. In fact, the Prabhupada says humility is if you don't respect honor for oneself. To not expect honor for oneself is humility. But people in this world are doing everything to get honor for themselves. So, but that fame is so temporary. I mean, um, I'm sure um, in Apple company and big companies, there are big intellectual people who are designing big things. 100 years from now, nobody will remember them. Nobody cares for them. What to speak about these small companies, these small engineers, even um, 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 presidents. Nobody cares for them. I mean, um, Trump is out now, nobody speaks about it. And just wait for 50 years, he will just be a name in the history. Who was the president of America in 1974? Nobody cares. Nobody speaks about. So fame in this world is very temporary. But what is the fame of a devotee? Ebejaz Gushukri Bhuvana Prabhupada Patita Pavana. Fame of a devotee goes hundreds of years, thousands of years later. Everybody, especially in India, knows about Ramanujacharya. We recently celebrated his 1000 appearance, 1000 years. People don't even know the president who was there 20 years back. But Ramanujacharya, Jesus Christ, Madhvacharya, they are the most well-known people that have ever walked on the planet Earth. So we see real fame is the fame of a devotee. He become really famous. So if you're really intelligent and if you want fame, become a great devotee of the Lord. But don't become devotee for fame. Become devotee for the pleasure of Krishna, and fame will follow you. One I had a friend. I was studying. I was doing my masters in US, and we had a Bhakti Yoga club, and I had some small role in that club. So one Western lady would come along with many others. So she went to Vrindavan and then she got initiated and she came back. And then I met her in the temple. And then she said, my spiritual master told me something that I liked it. I said, what did he say? And he said, if you look for fame, if you look for wealth, if you look for anything, they will run away from you. But if you don't care about them, they will follow you. They're like a shadow. If you try to chase the shadow, you cannot chase because the faster you run, the shadow will always be ahead of you. The your shadow will run faster than you. Same speed. So you can never catch it. But if you don't care about shadow and you just keep doing your work, shadow will come behind you. So fame is like that. So become a devotee of the Lord and see your fame, what happens to your fame. Infamy. So all these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone. So whether it is sages, demigods, or the qualities, they are all. So that's why the section is source of everything. Um, Another thing that Srimad Bhagavatam explains, we will discuss about lot of qualities of a devotee. It's a very interesting discussion. This comes in chapter 13th chapter and 12th chapter also. These two chapters describes about Vaishnava ornaments. What are the ornaments of a devotee? The qualities. So these qualities will develop naturally in you if you advance in your Krishna consciousness. If you advance in your Krishna consciousness, you will become free from doubt, you will become forgiving, you will become truthful, your senses will become controlled, your mind will become controlled, You will become free from happiness and distress, free from birth and death. You will become fearless. You will become non-violent. You will become equanimous. You will become fully satisfied. Everything you do will be an austerity because pleasing to Krishna. You are not attached. You will keep on giving knowledge, giving holy name, something or other. You will keep on serving. Your life will become selfless, not just what I get out of it. It doesn't matter what I get out of it. What can I do for others? So your life is an embodiment of charity, and your fame will grow. Your intelligence will become spiritual, and your knowledge will become very sharp. So all these qualities will naturally come to you if you become Krishna consciousness. So it is described that people are trying to show themselves that they have very good qualities, but it is described that they have no good qualities because their qualities are motivated by selfishness. Even people who are very rich and live in a very poor home, they are proud of their simplicity. So pride is there, pride of simplicity. So real qualities cannot develop until we become fully Krishna conscious. Okay, please keep asking any questions anytime you have. Otherwise, someone can read.
The seven great sages, and before them the four other great sages, and the Manus, uh, progenitors of mankind, come from me, born from my mind, and all the living beings populating the various planets descending from them.
Mm. So the sages, the demigods, the qualities, and now the seven great sages. So these are called Saptarishis. They also come from the mankind. They have a major role in population also, the seven sages, in educating the population. And before them, the four great sages, they are called the four Manus, sorry, the four Kumaras. And they were the first sons of Brahma. They also came from me. The Manus also son of Brahma. The word man come from Manus. So there are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma. And the life of Manu is, I think we discussed this in our eighth chapter, where we discuss about the life of Brahma, the day of Brahma, and the night of Brahma. So in one day of Brahma, um, so in one day of Brahma, there are 1,000 yuga cycles. Um, one yuga cycle is one Satya Yuga, one Treta Yuga, one Dwapar Yuga, one Kali Yuga. This is one yuga cycle. So 1,000 such yoga cycles is one day of Brahma. And 71 yuga cycles is a life of one Manu. So 14 Manus are there in one day of Brahma. Um, and when Manu dies, all the demigods also die. So they keep on changing position, just like President of America. Post is changed, post remains, but the person who remained that post remains changing. Likewise, Indra, Chandra, Surya, these are all post. They keep on changing. The post of Brahma also changes, but at a very later time. When Brahma dies, then new person takes the post of Brahma. So everything in this world is temporary. So one must um, one must direct one's energy, direct one's worship in a right direction towards the Supreme Lord. So the sages, the Kumaras, the Manus, they all come from me, born from my mind, and all the living beings populating descend from them. In other words, Aham Bija Pradapita. Krishna says everything emanates from me. So here Krishna is telling everything, whether it is in this, um, whatever exists in this material, but everything comes from me. Mm. That's why this chapter is called Opulence of the Supreme. So Krishna is telling about himself, that how he is the source. Okay, someone can read this.
Yes, I can read it. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this, there is no doubt.
Mm. Thank you, Girish Prabhu. One who is factually convinced of this opulence. Which opulence? Everything comes from me. And one who knows me as a supreme Lord, he becomes free from sin. So the opulence of the Lord as the supremacy of the Lord. So one who is factually convinced about the Lord's position and the mystic power of mind, that how everything emanates from me. One who is convinced of my position, of who I am, engages in unalloyed devotional service. So, for example, if somebody now, why people have so many modes of worship? Because people doesn't know who is God. When Prabhupada came to America, Prabhupada asked these scientists, they are religion professors, and Prabhupada asked them who is God, and they said, well, we don't know. Prabhupada said, see, this is nonsense. You are religious professors. You are professors and you are teaching people religion and you don't know who is God, then how will you teach? What will you teach? What is religion? Religion means you worship God. When you don't even know who is God, what are you giving to people? So Prabhupada said, you are cheating them. You are cheating them by calling yourself a religious professor. And then Prabhupada said, we are giving you God. Why don't you accept it? Here is God. We are presenting God before you. Why don't you accept it? And they say, well, how do we trust? And Prabhupada said, we are not presenting God to you whimsically. We are presenting God with all the scriptures. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Vedas, and great acharyas. Ramanujacharya accepted it, Madhvacharya accepted it. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give that. So I am not presenting something whimsically. I am presenting based on the entire parampara. And Krishna himself speaks that. I am presenting, why don't you accept it? And then Prabhupada said, first of all, you don't know who is God. You don't know who is God. And I am presenting it. What is the difficulty? Either you tell me who is God, and then you explain, and then you prove. Either you tell me. If you don't know, I am presenting. Why don't you accept it? What is the difficulty in accepting? So Prabhupada would speak like this to big professors from different universities. So Krishna is telling here, one who becomes convinced about my position, either without Bhagavad Gita and without what Krishna is telling. Or if we are convinced of what Krishna is telling, then what will that person do? He will naturally surrender to the Lord. If one understands who is the Lord, he will he will start performing devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. So this Krishna himself is telling here. One who is convinced of this fact about my supremacy, they will serve me naturally. Everyone has a tendency to serve great personalities. Everyone. Like there is a story where there was a farmer. He wanted to uh, work for someone. We all have a tendency to work for someone. We are all working for somebody, either our manager or our children or our spouse or our parents or our elders. We are serving somebody. We are helping somebody. We are working for somebody. So this farmer, he saw a very great personality with lot of influence. When he came in his car, there were 10 cars ahead, 10 cars behind. People would walk with umbrella on his head, and very famous. So he thought, I want to serve this person. It's very difficult to reach out this person, so I want to serve him. So finally he went there and he said, who are you? I want to serve you. He said, all right, you can serve me. And he happened to be the senapati of a king, like the minister of a king. So he said, okay. So he accepted him as one of his servants. So he went and he started living in a palace because the servant enjoys the opulence of the master. Then he saw Senapati going to the kingdom and there was a king. And this farmer thought, well, I want to become the servant of a king. So he went to the king and he said, I want to serve you. I want to be your personal servant. King said, all right. So he became the servant of a king. And now there is nobody above king. So he started serving for the king. And then one day he saw the king going to the temple of Narayan and he is worshipping Narayan. And then he thought, oh, he is also worshipping Narayan. Then I want to become the servant of Narayan. So the idea is, one who becomes factually convinced about who is the Supreme Lord, who is the Supreme Personality, it's natural that one will engage in devotional service. One would like to serve that personality. So that Krishna is presenting to us, and Krishna says, I'm telling you, Arjuna, because you're not envious of me. Because envious person, when they hear glories of Krishna, they'll be like, Envious person will have this thought, this is bogus. I don't believe it. Why? Because they think they know better than Krishna. They think they know better than Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna says those people cannot attain my lotus feet. Cannot attain. But Arjuna, because you are my devotee and not envious of me, I am telling you about myself. And if you understand my position without doubt, you will naturally engage in my service. Okay, now coming to the last part of today's discussion, four more verses, which is called Essence of Bhagavad Gita. These are four most important verses of Gita. I mean, there are few more which contains the epitome and the essence of all the teachings, and we will discuss those verses. But these four contains the essence, and what this contain when you see, then you will see how valuable these four verses are. So these four verses, they are called essence of Bhagavad Gita. It is called Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. Entire Bhagavad Gita can be summarized in these four verses. Three stages of spirituality. I mean, probably, how do we advance spiritually? How do we advance spiritually? How Krishna helps? Whom? What is the qualification that we require to receive help from Krishna? All these questions are answered in just four verses. Who is Krishna? What is my relationship with Krishna? Uh, uh, what do I do to receive Krishna's mercy? In what form Krishna mercy comes? And what is my goal? Everything Krishna has condensed in these four verses. That's why this is called Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. The spiritual journey is divided in three stages. First, understanding God philosophically. Okay. Philosophically, who is God? No realization, no experience, just philosophy. Well, Bhagavatam says that, Bhagavad Gita says that, maybe. So this is the first stage of spirituality is who am I, who is God, and what is my relationship with Him? Understanding God's philosophically. Then the second stage is what do I do to develop my relationship with Him? The first stage is who is He, who is God, and who am I, what's my relationship? Now I know, okay, for example, if we have faith, then I know, okay, Krishna is God. Now, uh, what do I do about it? How do I reawaken that relationship? If I am His part and parcel, how do I realize that? What steps do I take? So this is called see God practically. Practically means what do I do now? That is called abhidaya. Abhidaya means what is a process to become self-realized. Philosophically means what it means to be self-realized. Where do I see myself when I am self-realized? Abhidaya means what do I do to become self-realized? And see God spontaneously. Pariyojana means what is the goal? Why I am attending Bhagavad Gita discussions? Why should I perform devotional service? What is my goal in Krishna consciousness? So these are three stages. See God philosophically, practically, spontaneously. In other words, theoretically, who is God? Devotional service, how do I approach Him? And then um, spontaneously, that now I'm connected to Him. Now I feel spontaneously attracted to Him. Now I have some relationship with Him. Now God is no more a theory for me. It's not just philosophy, it's not just process. Now I have a relationship and I can see myself much more clearly, unlike before when I was completely blank what I was doing. So all these three, relationship, process, and the goal, is described in these four verses. So that's why it's called Chatushloki, entire Bhagavad Gita in four verses. So let's begin with the first verse. I will read the Sanskrit. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam bhura bhava samanvita. Can someone read this?
I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts.
Thank you, Soumya Mataji. Aham sarvasya prabhava. Sarvasya means everything. Prabhava means emanates. Prabha. Everything emanates from me. Whether it is spiritual or it is material, everything emanates from me. In the seventh chapter, Krishna says, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego comes from me. They are my separated energy. Then he says, all living entities, Jiva Bhuta, they are my um, 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 they are my they are my superior energy. Inferior energy, they are my superior energy. So here Krishna is combining whether it is material or spiritual, inferior or higher, whatever it is, everything emanates from me. Aham sarvasya prabhava. Sarvasya means there is nothing outside. See, the easiest way to say that everything comes from me is to use the word sarvasya. Otherwise, for example, I can say, I mean, I don't own anything, but I can say, okay, this jacket is mine. This kurta is mine. Whatever, this specs is mine. So then I define it. This is mine because there is something that exists that is not mine. That's why I have to define this is my home. But for Krishna, there is no definition. So he just says, Sarvasya, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. Everything comes from me. Matta Sarvam Pravartate. Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. Everything emanates from me. Matta Sarvam Pravartate. I am the source of everything. So in these two lines mean the same in different meaning. I am the source of all spiritual and material world. Everything emanates from me. Everything includes already Krishna defined clearly living entities. So in a way, if somebody asks, where are we coming from? Okay, first question that Krishna answers in second chapter is we are spirit souls. Okay, agree, we are spirit souls. Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara prapti dhira tatana muyati. Just like the soul passes on from boyhood to youth to old age, after death, the soul accepts another body. A sober man is not bewildered by such a change. Um, uh, hanyate na hanyate hanyamani sharire. When the body dies, soul continues to exist. Okay, I agree, I am a spirit soul. But where is the soul coming from? Is soul coming from father? No. Is soul coming from mother? No. Father and mother have given us the material body. Then where is the soul coming from? What is my soul? What is my origin? The body has an origin, but what is my origin? So every intelligent man will ask this question. Because first question is sambandha. Who am I? Who am I? If I am not the body, then who am I? I am a spirit soul. Well, that's an incomplete answer. It doesn't help me if somebody tells me I am a spirit soul. Who am I? Like, um, who am I? So that question Krishna answers that, my dear living entities, you are my energy. Krishna says, Mamai Vamsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Mamai Vamsa. Amsa means part and parcels. Amsa. Mamai Vamsa. He does not say his Amsa or her Amsa. He says Mamai Vamsa. You are my Amsa. Ansh. Ansh bolte na. You are my part and parcel. Mamai Vamsa. Who? Jiva Loke. Jiva. Jiva. He does not say humans. Jiva. All living entities. Loke. Wherever they live. Mamai Vamsa Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Sanatana means they are eternal. All living beings are eternal and they are my part and parcel. So now we receive Sambandha Gyan. Sambandha Gyan means who am I? This is the beginning of Krishna consciousness is who am I? Who is my real father? Who is my real father? Naturally, all of you may have children or at some point of time you were children. When you are children, what do? You depend on your father. And if you have children, what do they do if they are not too egoistic and too independent? In the natural state, when they are small, they depend on the father. So first we have to understand who is my real father. Because if I depend upon my biological father, then when father leaves, I will not see him for the rest of eternity. And if I die, I lose all relationship with the body. So whom can I depend on eternally? So who is my father? So Krishna says, Aham Bija Pradapita. I am the seed giving father, O Arjuna. So many places in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna bring this point. So this is called Sambandha Gyan. Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. Now, not only this, everything material, everything. So this Krishna has developed a sambandh. My dear child, you are my part and parcel. Your body is my energy, your home is my energy, your family is my energy, your office is my energy, the spiritual world is my energy, everything is my energy. So we see that okay, everything is converging at one place. So that's sambandha. Everything, nothing is independent of Krishna. Aham sarvasya prabhu matta sarvam pravartate. Everything comes from me. Iti matva bhajante. Matva, iti matva bhajante man. One who knows this, one who knows this. Most of the people don't know this. Iti matva, once who know this, bhajante mam, they worship me. Bhajante, bhajante mam, Buddha bhava samandita. Buddha means wise. So we should question ourselves, am I a wise person? If the answer is yes, so what do wise people do according to Krishna? Krishna says Buddha. Buddha does not mean old man. Buddha means wise because they are very experienced. So they have become more wiser than us. So Buddha Bhava Samandita. Bhava means with all their hearts they worship me. Iti matva bhajante mam Buddha Bhava Samandita. So bhajante is the process. First, this one verse contains all the three stages. Um, the first stage is we belong to Krishna, Sambandha. The second stage is bhajante, worship, is the process by which we realize that. And the third stage is bhava samanvita. Once we start worship, in the beginning, there may be no bhava in our heart. It may be mechanically. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Now, this may be just bhajante. Bhajante or worship, devotional service can be at many levels. It can be very deep, it can be very shallow. But when the stage comes of bhava means um, um, the heart is completely peaceful, tears are coming from our eyes. There are many symptoms that exhibits in the stage of bhava is a very advanced stage of devotional service. um, the hair stand on end. The person acts like a madman because he cannot contain that much happiness. So this is called bhava samandita. One comes to a stage of bhava. So relationship, the process of devotional service, and the goal is to attain that loving relationship with Krishna, that love for Krishna. That love is bhava samandita. Okay. Let's do, maybe we will do just this one today, the last one for today, and remaining two verses we cover from next week. um, Machita madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Okay, now can someone read the translation directly, the thoughts of mine?
The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me.
Thank you. Thank you, Aruna Mataji. Machitta. Machitta means mind engaged in me. Mat gata prana. Prana means life. Mat gata prana is life dedicated to me. The mind is engaged in me and life is dedicated to me. Bodhayanta parasparam. Parasparam means apas mein, among each other. And bodhayanta means speech. So they talk among each other. And what do they talk among each other? Kathayantascha mam nityam. They discuss katha. Katha means Hari Katha. Katha means they discuss about me. Kathayantascha mam nityam. Mam means about me. Katha means talks. Katha. But when it comes to mam, then it becomes Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha means talking about Krishna. So Kathayantascha mam nityam. Nityam means they always. They always discuss about me. Krishna Katha. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Tushyanti is they become satisfied. And ramanti is they become blissful. So ramanti is a higher stage of tushyanti. Tushyanti means santushtam. Santusht. That's called tushyanti. And ramanti means they're experiencing higher bliss. So if you want to become santusht, peaceful, blissful, so what do we have to do? Krishna Katha. Kathayantascha mam nityam. This verse only speaks about Abhideya. Abhideya means how can we progress in our spiritual life. And the meaning to progress is Krishna Katha. By hearing about Krishna, your attraction to Krishna will grow. Now, Krishna is telling, what do my devotees do? How do my devotees derive bliss and satisfaction? Kathyantascha mam nityam. They always discuss about. In fact, it is described um, material greed is when we want more and more and we are unsatisfied. Material greed can be overcome by spiritual greed. Spiritual greed means I want to hear more about Krishna. I want to serve him little more. I want to hear little more. I want to chant little more. I want to associate with devotees little more. When we have that strong eagerness to hear about Krishna and to perform all kind of devotional service for Krishna, that way you will become satisfied. Like right now we are discussing Krishna Katha, we will find some satisfaction in our heart. That itself is a proof that Krishna is transcendental. If right now we discuss about the president of America, you will see lot of anxieties will come in all of your mind and in my mind also. No political talk, and if we talk about sense gratification, we will become agitated. Our bodies will become agitated. No material talk can actually bring peace. It only brings anxiety and agitation. But Tushyanti and Ramanti, the bliss and Tushyanti, satisfaction, comes by hearing about Krishna. Because the soul is spiritual and the Katha is spiritual. So when we do Krishna Katha, the soul enjoys. And when soul enjoys, we become Tushyanti and Ramanti. We become satisfied. But other talks, only mind and intelligence enjoy. Mathematics, only ego and intellect enjoys. The soul does not enjoy. If you act on intelligence, if you solve some big production problem, you will get some satisfaction, but you will see that satisfaction will not be deep. That satisfaction will be intellectual satisfaction. But when we hear Krishna Katha, you will see a deep satisfaction that is connected to the soul. But when you hear any other katha, if it is satisfying to the ego, intellect, or mind, you will find some satisfied, but it's a superficial level of satisfaction. Most superficial is senses become satisfied. That is very short lived. Senses enjoy for 10 seconds and over. Then mind satisfaction, little longer. Intellect satisfaction, little more longer. Ego satisfaction, little more longer. Prabhuji, you are the best person I have seen. You are the most beautiful person I have seen. So ego becomes very satisfied. So you like it little bit. But when there is Krishna Katha, the satisfaction is way to the core level because the soul becomes satisfied. And that satisfaction will remain for much longer time. It will satisfy your heart. Now your heart becomes filled with Krishna Katha, fills with divinity. But then if you again talk about material topics and material desires, immediately the satisfaction will be replaced by anxiety. So that's why Krishna says Nityam. Nityam means Krishna Katha goes on. Means some way or other we keep ourselves Krishna conscious. Sometimes people say, Prabhuji, when we hear Krishna Katha, we feel very nice, but then after 1 or 2 days, we feel like life is dead. And that's a fact because the life is dead. Without Krishna Katha, life is dead. So that's why Krishna uses the word Nityam. You have to remain with Krishna all the time. But somebody says, but how do we remain with Krishna? The reason is we are not trained to be with Krishna. And because we are not trained, we have to train ourselves. Now, how do I train ourselves? Well, to begin with, chant certain number of rounds every day and hear Krishna Katha on YouTube. You can go to YouTube and you can say ISKCON lectures. Um, and then you can even hear the lectures that you like. For example, ISKCON lust lecture, ISKCON envy, ISKCON greed, ISKCON humility. So you can choose a topic and then use the right phrase and hear for 15-20 minutes, chant 15-20 minutes. Now what you are doing, you are training yourself that okay, I'm not on the platform of Kathayanta Chamam Nitya. So as soon as I hear Krishna Katha, I talk about material topics, and again the anxiety comes back to me, and then all my spiritual energy is gone. It's like you clap, and then what happens? All the birds on the tree they fly away. Likewise, when we come to Bhagavad Gita discussion, we take all divinity. We become Tushyanti, we become Ramanti, and then we talk about other things, and all the birds of devotion flies away. So that stage will come. The goal is man mana bhavan mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru. You are always Krishna conscious. But then there is a long gap. I mean, where we are, what we are doing, and where I can be fully satisfied, there is a long gap. The question comes, how can I become satisfied? Srimad Bhagavatam explains you can become satisfied only by one way. And it says, uh, Ahituki apratihata ye atma suprasidati. Suprasidati means fully satisfied. You cannot become satisfied by any other means. If you think you can try it out. You will not be able to. Krishna Katha will satisfy you. So Krishna Katha should be ahituki apratihata, unmotivated, uninterrupted. You should not hear Krishna Katha. You should not engage in devotional service for any material desires. This is called ahituki, unmotivated. And uninterrupted means uninterrupted is same as kathayanta chamam nityam. If you want to become ramanti, so Krishna has given the way nityam. If we come to 12th chapter, Krishna says if you cannot perform nityam, Krishna says the best is you are constantly thinking of me nityam. But if you cannot attain that goal, then every day for some time spend remembering me. The best way to remember is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are remembering Krishna for some part of the day, and that will uh, increase our divinity. As you become divine, you will naturally think of Krishna more. And not that at one point of time you sit down and you chant whole day. No, you chant only certain number of rounds, only for an hour and a half, only every day. You don't go beyond. You start with 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, but you absorb so much spiritual energy by doing that, that the rest of the day you can remain in divine consciousness. So this is the process. This is the process. So we will stop here. And are there any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Danvat Pranam, Prabhu.
Anantari Prabhu, Dhanavad Pranam.
Prabhuji, very nicely, Prabhuji, the Chatur Shloki Gita. Prabhuji, my inquiry was for the Sambandha. Is it a right understanding that one should connect with a bona fide guru, then only Sambandha is established? or is it like if one has the understanding that I am a spirit soul and I am a part and parcel of God, is it sufficient for a sambandha to be established?
Hmm. Prabhuji, Guru is a later step. Uh, we establish sambandha, we start abhideya, we establish relationship, we after understanding our relationship with Krishna, then as Krishna says, you start worshipping me, then we start worshipping Krishna. And once we become serious, once our faith grows, once we are convinced, once we have a lot of experience, now we want to take the next step. Then comes Guru, who gives us personal guidance. And if we accept a Guru, then we can attain Krishna. It is true that without Guru, we cannot attain Krishna. Um, um, by the mercy of Krishna, one gets Guru. So first we worship Krishna, and Krishna inspire us. Then we want to accept a spiritual master, and then Guru tells us confidential secrets about what to do to attain Krishna. And then when we follow Guru's instruction, then our way back home, back to God, it is guaranteed. Is that all right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
All right. We'll end here. Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhu evacha. Patita nam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti vaishnavendu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada. We discussed 2 verses and we discuss remaining 2 verses next week. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Dhanavad.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.